Hi, so in 2017, researchers in Germany figured out how to use machine learning to deblur photographs. This is important because it could allow for people's faces in videos to be identified. If you're a journalist, filmmaker, or photographer, you have an obligation to keep protesters' identities secret. And I'm going to show you two ways to go about correctly pixelating someone's face. The first is in Adobe Premiere Pro, and the second is in Adobe After Effects. So here we have a very simple shot of a man walking. First thing you're going to do is add an adjustment layer and drag your adjustment layer onto your timeline and match your clip. And now you're going to create the mask. So under opacity, click the little oval tool, and it'll drop a blue oval onto your image. And you can drag that onto the person's face and readjust your screen if you need to. And just adjust the oval so it matches the person's face. So now go to Effects, and the effect you want is called Mosaic. So under Stylize, go to Mosaic and drag and drop it onto your adjustment layer. You can scroll down and change how much pixelation you want here. I found that 30 is a good number, and there's no way that a computer will be able to figure out what's behind that. To make it move, go to the mask and click on the stopwatch next to Mask Path. Then click on the mask. And then as you move the timeline, you can move the mask to cover the person's face. And you should see keyframes appearing on the left timeline. So as you go forward and you keep adding keyframes, what this is doing is it's saving the position of the mask at each given time. And now you should be able to scroll through, and we should be able to see. You just want to make sure that you're covering all your bases here. You can go back and touch up certain areas. So for example, it's slipping off of his face. Go back and reposition it. Eventually, you'll be able to scroll through the timeline and see that his face is successfully pixelated. So most people would go for, or it is common for other programs to use what's called a bilinear blur, which essentially is like a camera blur, and that's not effective enough. So this is After Effects. Go to Tracker, click on Track Motion, and it'll give you this tracking icon. And you can drag this over the man's face and resize it. And then once you've resized it properly, you can go to the tracking panel and you can click the track forwards button. And as you'll see, the computer will set about tracking it. This is really good if you have a lot of people in a scene and you need to expedite the process a little bit. So just let it track through. And if it misses its track, you can always go frame by frame with the button to the right of the play button. And if it slips off, you can always adjust it manually. And now you'll see that it has successfully tracked his face. So now right click and you're going to add a new null object. This just records position data. And then you're going to go to your tracking panel, click edit target, and make sure it's your null, and click apply. And make sure you go to the first frame when you do this. Go to the first frame and click apply. And make sure it's set to X and Y. And now your null object will have the position data where you tracked it. So if we go to different intervals here, we can see that the null object is tracking with his face. Perfection. Okay. Now we're going to create a new adjustment layer similarly to what we did in Premiere. And we're going to go to the mosaic and drag and drop that onto the adjustment layer. You can click the I button to the left of the layer, and that'll shut it off for a second. That's just making so we can't see the layer. And then you can click on the oval tool in the toolbar, and then drag a mask around his face. Put the eye back on, and then adjust your properties of the mosaic. And now you click this little pick whip here and drag it to the null object. And that's all you have to do. And now it should track automatically to his face. So this is just a much more expedited process, and it's better if you have a lot of work to do. If you have any issues with this whatsoever, feel free to comment or message me, and I will help you through every step of the way, because this is a very important thing to hit. Thank you, and good luck.